Let's open up this pit. My name is Adam Zuniga. I am the host and curator of KNOTFEST Beer Pit Live. Today we are talking with Kevin Davey from Wayfinder Brewing, the brewmaster of Wayfinder in Portland, Oregon, as well as Aaron Beam, bassist and vocalist, and John Sherman, otherwise known as Shermanimal, the drummer from Red Fang, the band based in PDX. Hails Kevin, Aaron, and John. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, dude.
Happy to be here.
All right. So the KNOTFEST Beer Pit Live is special because it is a chance to talk bands with breweries and breweries with bands and see where it all crosses over and comes together. It's a chance for us to bring in KNOTFEST Beer Pit subscribers live to ask questions or on the chat via Twitch, which our producer, the voice of Satan, is watching. And this episode is special because it is a chance to talk malt liquor and share all our secrets and stories around it. So, Wayfinder and Red Fang, are you ready?
Ready.
Heck yeah.
Let's do this. I'm going to start with Kevin. Can you tell us how you got into brewing and when Wayfinder was founded?
Yeah, I was a plumber and I decided that sucked and I wanted to make beer for a living instead because it sounded way cooler, and I didn't think I could do it, but I saved up a bunch of money and went to a brewing school in Germany, and 12 years later, here I am, man. I worked at a really great brewery in Bellingham, Washington called Chuckanut, and then worked at Firestone Walker down in California.
Nice.
Kind of cut my chops there, and then ended up working at a Gordon Beer brew pub in downtown Seattle, and then when I was working there, I heard from the guys that founded Wayfinder here that they were looking to make a lager style brewery, and that was like really what I like doing. And I told them I had to be their first employee, so that's what I did. And we started awesome. In 2016. Yeah,
that is most metal. I knew about the connection from Wayfinder to Relapse Records to Sizzle Pie. First tried your beer at Decibel Magazine Metal and Beer Fest with Barnaby Struve. Shout to Barnaby, beloved and departed, who was a brewer at Three Floyds and a consultant for Wayfinder. So we're glad to celebrate him tonight. And thank you again for rejoining the Beer Pit as a returning champion, because you were in our very first box when we launched in March. So it is most metal to have you here. And for you, Aaron and John, Red Fang, can you tell us just when the band was founded and maybe describe your new album, Arrows, which was just released under a month ago on Relapse Records. Tell us about it for anyone who's heard it or hasn't heard it for that matter.
Do you want to talk about Arrows or about the founding of the band?
Well, let's start at the beginning.
We were all plumbers and decided that we hated it. And so we tried to go to brewery, to a beer brewing school, and we sucked at that. So they said, you guys can drink beer and play music, and that's what you should do. So that's what we did.
Awesome.
Path of least resistance.
Man.
Band.
Yeah.
That is some masterful instruction. Hell yeah.
I think that goes downhill.
Exactly. But actually, there is some people might know that there's a pretty strong connection between us and beer. And I would just like to say that when we first started playing, I was playing guitar. It was me and John and David. Brian had not moved up from San Diego yet, and I was playing guitar. And I was so mad at having to play bass again once he moved back up that I decided that I was going to write all my bass parts while drunk so that I knew I could play them while drunk. So it was like always beer for every single practice and every single show.
Wow. That answers the question if beer inspires your music or not. That's for damn sure. You're one of the...
beer inspires playing worse.
Playing worse, but makes for one of the best beer bands out there. A friend introduced me to Red Fang by sending me your Prehistoric Dog video, and it was everything I love. It was beer humor, it was Monty Python, and it was above all a good time. And I know it's a recurring theme throughout all your videos. So thank you for making music videos cool again. We owe you that for damn sure. And talk about Arrows a little bit. Just how does it fit? I think it's your 5th full-length release. How does it kind of fit into the lineup?
Jeez.
Last?
Yeah. Most recent. I don't know. I don't, we've never been the kind of band that sets out to write an album and then writes that album and records it and then moves on to the next album. We're just always writing songs and riffs, and sometimes those songs don't end up on an album until like 5 years later.
Yeah.
And sometimes stuff ends up on the album that just happened spur of the moment. So I think all of our albums, to me, fit right in together because they're all written at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
Basically. There's riffs on this record that were written before Murder the Mountains was written. So
Okay.
it all feels pretty like continuous to us. I think that the one thing that I would say that I think I've said a couple times about what this record feels like, not necessarily what it sounds like, is that it just felt a little bit more just relaxed and free as far as the writing and recording, because we set aside more time for ourselves to do that stuff. So it felt a little bit less like, doing it on a timeline, if that makes any sense. And I think it feels like a little looser, I guess, the songs, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
That's the beer.
Yeah.
It definitely was the album I was waiting for over 2020, over 2021. I know it can be kind of a big, broad, or vague question, describe your sound, or a tedious question the same way when you ask breweries to like describe their beer and their brand. But fuck, it's an important one. I think for both Red Fang and for Wayfinder, both examples of like, we take our music seriously, our beer seriously, our art seriously, but not ourselves too seriously. And the fact that you released a craft malt liquor is fucking proof of that. So I've worked for a handful of breweries that all...
Why'd you say that? What do you mean?
I've worked for a number of breweries that all joked about making a malt liquor and releasing like a craft 40 ounce or something. None of them had the guts to do it, but you all had the fucking guts to do it. And I can't wait to try it. So before I tease any further, this is what we're going to be cracking open in just a moment. But I do want to know, and this is for the group.
Oops, sorry.
Already into it.
Oops.
Yeah.
I
want to know what
crack open for effect if you want.
I want to know what was your first malt liquor?
Who?
All of you, from Kevin, from you, John, from Aaron. Tell us, what was your first malt liquor?
I don't remember.
I remember
Either King Cobra or OE.
It was Old English for me, without a doubt.
But Schlitz was my favorite. But
Steel Reserve for me was the first one, and I remember I was 18 years old, and somebody older than me bought it for me, and I was so excited to drink underage, and I took like 3 sips, and I just this isn't worth it, so I poured it out.
You're like, I'll wait till I'm older.
Oh, wait till I'm older, sucks. Yeah. But I do like, I dabble. We ended up drinking like 8 to 12 different types of malt liquors when we were developing this beer, and decided, which ones we liked and which ones we didn't.
This is the first malt liquor I've had since the Edward 40 Hands party on Mayhem Fest.
Right.
Nice.
And that was 2011, maybe?
2011, yeah.
So 10 years in between malt liquors.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one ever.
Well, there
you go.
I think mine also might have been Steel Reserve, like you, Kevin. Somewhere, sometime in college. I don't remember exactly, and maybe that's the point of it. It's kind of a trick question, right? Because I think malt liquor, the term predates craft beer, and the idea is it comes from malted barley and is brewed to a higher strength originally, which was anything above 5%. So, now what would consider what would be considered an average strength beer was malt liquor then. But in any case, it's the same as asking what was your first craft beer. Like, do you remember Red Fang? What turned you on to craft beer in the first place?
Well, I do, which is I grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so as you guys probably know, there's a couple like pretty well-known craft breweries there. And my dad is a professional dabbler in all things alcohol. And so he was a huge fan of Odell's, not O'Doul's.
Yeah.
90 Shilling was his favorite. And then of course Fat Tire was there. And I think that it was like a combination of that and then moving to Portland in the early 90s. I was just real proud of that sort of like, that there was this special like little thing that was happening in those two parts of the two parts of the world that I was from were both doing these kind of special beers back in like 1989, 1990. So yeah, that was kind of how I got into it.
Small scenes are always cool.
Yeah, exactly.
To be a part of.
Yeah.
I always tried that when I was a younger drinker. I would always drink, what I could afford. Like quantity was definitely more important than quality back then. But then I started working for a microbrew beer of the month club called, I want to say they were called Hogshead, maybe. This is like 2000, 99, 2000. And no one in North Carolina, where I lived at the time, there was no microbrews or, it was pretty foreign. So it was interesting to get all these small craft brews from all over the country. And because I worked there, I could get beers that were like 6 months old pretty cheap. So my fridge was stocked with, 6 to 8 month old fancy beers.
Nice. Yeah. I hear you. I mean, Fort Collins is obviously one of the epicenters of craft beer, and North Carolina grew to become a great craft beer scene with Asheville and statewide for that matter.
Yeah, it seems like now everywhere is a great craft beer place, but back in the day it was
pretty small.
Like Colorado and West Coast, that's the only thing I ever heard of.
Yeah, you had to know a guy. Like if you were from North Dakota, you had to like know somebody.
Yeah, know a guy who knows a guy.
You didn't have a beer Sherpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pay like $20 to have a 6-pack shipped to you.
Yeah. And for you, Kevin, early memories, first craft beers, first imports, whatever it was that kind of turned you on to beer to begin with.
Man, I back in the day, I never went to college or anything, so we were really working class. We would drink PBR all during the week, and then on Fridays we'd pony up and buy some Henry Weinhardt's Private Reserve. Yeah, and that was our good beer. After that, I was like, well, what other good beers are there? So I kind of found Pilsner Urquell, and I was living in Seattle at the time, and I could get like a lot of Deschutes stuff, and that was really great. So I remember Quail Springs IPA and Red Hook ESB. Those were like our fancy beers when we left the bowling alley. We'd go get something good.
Nice.
I think that I had this moment. There's this craft beer bar called the Duck Island Ale House, and I was there when I was like 21, and my friend of mine's like, hey, you got to try this beer. And I'm like, okay. So we split a bottle, and it was Unibrew out of Montreal, I think. And the beer was like 10%, and it came in goblets. And it was like mind blowing to me. I was just like, I didn't think beer could ever be that crazy strong and, estery and smelled like fucking candy. And it tasted like get you drunk sauce. It was great. After that, I was like, all right, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. I get it. These are all the moments that led us here. That's cool. How did the collaboration begin between the brewery and the band? Like, what led you to each other? What's the story behind the collaboration? Is it having a shared record label involved or something else?
That helps.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the connection came from. I can't remember. I feel like we've been talking about it for years. I mean, it seems like a sort of a no-brainer that we would do a collaboration like that. But I think maybe we even got the ball finally rolling because of our mutual friends in New Zealand. For some reason, I'm blanking on the name.
Hop Revolution is who you're thinking of.
Yes, Hop Revolution.
Yeah, Carrie and Susan. And so these are mutual friends, and it was amazing because Aaron's like, hey, I think I got some friends in New Zealand that would that help you out? Like they're starting a hop farm. And I'm like, what? Yes. Like for people out there that don't know, like finding really great New Zealand hops is hard to do. So and this was going to be like their first year of producing some hops. So we met up at the Craft Brewers Conference, and it was really cool. They were growing 4 different types of hops: Pacific Sunrise, Motueka, Nelson Sauvin, and Ruwaka. And we settled on the Pacific Sunrise. It was kind of like a special hop that they just make. I think they're the only farm growing it right now. And it's a really cool hop. It's obviously not super showcased in this beer, but We actually finished it with an amount of Pacific Sunrise. It just kind of lagered, and there's a little bit of fruitiness that you get in the nose, which is, I really didn't want to overdo it because I wanted to make sure it did taste like a malt liquor, but it's there.
And that's all specifically our directions, as we asked
Yeah.
Kevin to do that exact stuff, whatever he said.
That was all our
Yeah. You know your
take
hot
all
Red
the credit
Fang.
for that.
Yeah. We're like, Kevin, here's the thing. We want to
Here's
do a
some
collaboration.
numbers.
We want a flat nose, high hopped, late stage, cold brewed. I don't know what the fuck.
I
I mean,
love
that's what David wanted, and you wanted a different hop. But after talking to the whole band, you came to me with what? Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're like, just malt liquor, dude. That's fine.
Yeah. The fact that they're New Zealand hops definitely makes this a craft malt liquor. What about the idea just to do a malt liquor in the first place? Where did that come from?
I just thought it'd be rad.
Ah!
I don't know. It just seemed kind of like a. Part of me was just like, well, of course, prehistoric dog when they're just drinking a ton of Tecate and PBR and Rainiers and stuff. Like, we could go that route, but we kind of already make a beer like that a little bit, and I thought that, hey, this is going to be something special. Let's do something like that, but it turned up to 11.
Yeah, it's true. You already have several really good, like crisp yellow beers that.
Yeah.
Kevin says we're gonna make a malt liquor, and you say, "Fuck yeah, do it."
You say, how high?
You say, "Prove it."
Yeah.
Prove it how high.
Well, all right. You're making me
This
thirsty.
high,
I can't
really
wait
tall.
longer.
I know. I'm gonna crack open another one, even though I haven't opened, just so I can
Yeah.
pour it, so we can see what it looks like.
All right. So what I'm going to do exactly, so people can see the color, I'm going to pour the first one into my trusty Wayfinder dimple mug.
Nice.
Or
And then the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, I'm going to drink straight from the can. I'm sorry I don't have a brown paper bag on hand, but yeah. And then, Kevin, I know we talked about this, and Aaron and John, you probably feel the same way. I don't want to overthink a malt liquor, but it is my first one in memory. It is my first craft malt liquor. So, Kevin, if you want to talk us through the aroma, the appearance, the flavor, the finish, just walk us through the beer as we drink it.
Yeah.
And we're going to see if Red Fang can corroborate what they smell, what they taste, and everything else you're saying. Look at that.
Yeah.
Whew.
Look at that. It pours with a nice head. It's a heady
My
beer.
dying mug. I wish I had two.
Whew. That is a beautiful beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers all around.
Well, so when we were drinking a bunch of these malt liquors, we noticed that there's pretty much two types of malt liquor I found. There's like ice beer, which is like 5.3, and that can also be considered malt liquor. So like the Natty Ices of the world.
Yeah.
And then there's like malt liquor, like Old English, Steel Reserve.
So, what makes it malt liquor versus beer?
Beer. Yeah. So like it's really not that much different. They came out in the 50s, and they were originally like kind of like, okay, you've got the regular beer, Johnny Punch Clock stuff. And then if you were like kind of a rich, well-to-do person, you wanted to have something that was like stronger, and you're going to have it in a glass, and you're going to drink it at your country club. You order some country club malt liquor. It was originally advertised as like being the specialty product. The big difference is that it's made to a higher gravity, so there is more fermentable sugar extract. How they get there is through a mix of adjunct like corn or rice. We used corn. And also a bit of dextrose, so just a little bit of sugar in the way of corn sugar. I think
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So there's a bit of corn sugar, there's a bit of corn or rice, and then a certain amount of barley. So when we were drinking all these ones, I found that the ones that were stronger, like Steel Reserve and Old
Stronger
English.
in flavor or alcohol content?
Alcohol. I found that they were actually way more interesting and actually kind of good. I actually really like Old English.
Huh.
Like, I never really drank Old English by itself. I drank other malt liquors, but never Old English. And I thought it was kind of cool. It had because of that higher gravity, original density of the liquid before fermentation, you have a lot more fruity ester from the fermentation, even though lager yeast, which this is a lager style beer, has like a lower overall ester quality than ales. this beer does still have a little bit of that kind of. It's almost like a Belgian quality, like the esterification of higher alcohols. It kind of has like a fruit aroma. Not much. And for this beer itself, we're pretty good at making beers really, really clean, no matter what the alcohol is. This is 6.5%, and it does. I think it drinks like a 4.5% beer.
I was going to say 4.7, but
okay, yeah,
You do the
Bingo.
math.
Kevin, are you saying you brewed it? You brewed it as a lager with lager yeast?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting, man, because it really does. It does totally fit in line with the other beers from Wayfinder. I mean, less hopped than anything I think I've had from you, including the Helles. But
Yeah.
I mean, what I taste is Pilsner malt, like a light fruity quality, and then totally like a bit of like a candied sugar element, like what you're talking about from Belgian beers. So it is mildly sweet, but not overwhelming, not cloying, man. And if you were to serve it to me blind, I would think it like suits the Wayfinder beer lineup, but I wouldn't necessarily say malt liquor. Like it's a quality beer that's meant for drinking, man. So I mean, I think it actually kind of suits the Dimple Mug, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it's also kind of fun to have like kind of a bigger, strong beer that you're going to consume. It's middle of summer. We just are kicking the pandemic. We're kicking the pandemic's butt, right? I don't know. So it's kind of fun to like, let's make a 19.2 ounce can of beer that I don't know. It's a party in the can, man. What can't you like about that?
Yeah. No.
These.
Halfway to a 20 ounce. And I think you're right to call it like the finest craft brewed malt liquor. Oh, you've got the not
that's just so you can
Beer
see
Pit
for
box
scale.
on
This
hand.
is a 16 ounce next to the malt liquor can.
Yeah.
It's slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you got the KNOTFEST Beer Pit box at home. Hope it will be drunk and enjoyed.
It's right next to me on ice, ready to go.
Nice. So we are halfway to a 40 ounce. I think the beer is fucking great. John and Aaron, is this everything you directed Kevin to brew? Do you smell and taste everything he just described?
Kevin made a way better malt liquor than I thought was possible.
Thank you, John.
It's amazing. And now that I didn't even think about it being a half 40, I'm going to start ordering half 40s.
I like it.
You know? Yeah, I'll take a half 40 of that Red Fang beer.
Yeah, that could be the new thing.
Maybe just order two of them.
Yeah.
So
I get two half 40s.
I get 2 half 40s.
If you ask Google what is malt liquor, the feedback is it's something like beer that tastes like off-brand Fruit Loops in warm water, not even milk and not even on-brand Fruit Loops. For those watching at home, this is much better. This tastes like beer. This is beer.
Yeah, it really is good. I mean, I'm not shitting.
I think you were Googling hard
drinking it.
seltzer. Was that what you wrote in? Or?
It's I would probably get the same answer if I was. And you can tell us if Wayfinder, now that you've foraged into malt liquor, would ever consider a seltzer or anything else down the road. But I want to go back to you, Aaron, and to you, John. Just what do you smell? What do you taste? How many 40s could you drink of this? Tell us.
Well, I mean, I know that I have like a little bit of an advantage from having talked to Kevin about this quite a bit, but it does take me back right to those early days of drinking Old English. It really tastes to me as a super refined palate who understands all of the nuances of beer making. It tastes like Old English if it wasn't really disgusting.
Don't.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's much cleaner. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have that sort of there's a just sort of disgusting element to, I think, a lot of malt liquors. No offense to them. I mean, that's part of what.
Well, they take the funk too far.
Exactly. They're a little too funky. It's, which is like when your dad is dancing at a wedding and he dances a little too funky. You just want to pull it back a little bit, Dad.
Yeah.
And that's what Kevin did. He pulled my dad back from the funky dance floor. That's what it tastes like.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's what Wayfinder does. Saving dads from over-funking it everywhere.
Well, actually, I'm that dad now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. It's I don't know how to describe it other than it's like a good crisp. I usually drink really crisp yellow beers. If I'm drinking beer, it's usually, when I say yellow, and most beer's yellow, but you know what I mean,
Totally.
like a Kolsch or a Pilsner or something like that. But
This could be a Kolsch as well. Like, I think if you were
Yeah.
drinking it
it's
blind.
just got like that, like just enough funk to make it interesting. And
Totally.
if someone tells you that it's malt liquor, you're like, oh, that's what that funk is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I wouldn't know that it was malt liquor. If you just gave me this and I didn't read the label, really, I don't think I'd know.
Yeah, I mean, it does even have like a little bit of it has a little bit of a European quality to it, even though I know it's New Zealand hops, but it kind of has some of that, like the more mainstream European beers flavor to it. To me, to my tongue, is it's not like a Bavarian, like Augustiner or something, but it has maybe even more like what's that? There's a Belgian can beer that like I can't remember what it's called. It's not Lion or Laser or something, but it's everywhere in the backstages of. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Kevin?
Isn't it like Hercules or something, or Atlas as he's like holding the mountain up?
It's not that one. No, it's like I'll think of it. It's like a red and black.
Oh,
label.
Jupiter or Jupiler?
Jupiler.
Yeah, Jupiler. That's like my kind of beer. Usually,
It reminds me of
like
Jupiler.
Easy to drink.
For real.
You can drink way too many too fast.
Yeah, it's like Stellar
my
Artois.
style sometimes.
Has when you drink it over there. Like by the time you get Stellar Artois over here, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never had it over here, and often things that we have over there, if we try to have them over here, it's different. I don't know if it's just
it is
environmental or if it's actually a different tasting product over here. But
Time and
Like
travel.
healthcare.
Yeah.
but seriously,
sorry.
I do think for the longest time, the American beer market was perceived as like we can water down, brew a near beer or half beer or just an idea of what the original was to like export to America, because we were known for, I guess, something along the lines of like cheap malt liquor full of like sugar adjuncts and whatever else. But for you, Kevin, I mean, this beer, it is kind of a chameleon. I said Kolsch. It could also kind of taste like a Belgian blonde. It's really interesting. And the New Zealand hops, was that only light bittering for balance, or did you dry hop that gives it kind of like this subtle sweetness in the end? And then it ultimately finishes really dry and really clean.
Yeah, no, it is literally just hopped a little bit with it and then just finished toward the end of the boil with a little bit. Just based on style itself, I didn't want to. If I were to dry hop it or add an exorbitant amount, it would just not work.
Yeah.
It would cease being malt liquor, kind of start feeling like something else, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be really clean and balanced.
Really good. And one of the better band beer collaborations I've had out there, and really one of the most unique. And it's fucking awesome that the band was hands-on involved in it. And I think for both you, Aaron, and John, don't discredit yourselves, because I think you know more about beer than most. They don't teach us about malt liquor in like the BJCP or the Cicerone program, but you can't deny what you smell and what you taste. And you hit it on the head. And because you have both a familiarity with domestic craft beer and then like international beer from touring, like I'm glad this delivers on both levels.
Well, really though, we can't take any credit for this. This is Kevin all the way.
No. You guys did it. I don't mind. Like, it's all your fault. We made a malt liquor. Red Fang made us do it.
We don't no credit, but we will take the paycheck.
I want to ask, not to get too heady about it, and in a moment, I want to bring our subscriber in, Eric, just to see if now he can verify and validate. What does he smell? What does he taste? But for you, how does this beer represent Red Fang? Like, how does a craft malt liquor represent Red Fang? Maybe going back to the idea of, like, again, beer and music that is serious but doesn't take itself too seriously. How does this beer represent the music, the band?
Well, I had never thought about it, but I think you just said
exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Beautifully.
Nailed it.
Already, you answered your own question.
I like what you said.
Oh, tell us, though, something else, something more, something different.
Tell him something better.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just rephrase what you said, but essentially it is, yeah, it's a, my friend Lance years ago wrote one of my favorite things about kind of music that I like in general, but he was describing us, that we're music for both the thinking and the banging head.
Yeah.
That there's something in there for it, because we came from a world of like math rock and just like overly orchestrated, not orchestrated, but overly thought and arranged music.
And the opposite of that.
Exactly.
And St. Vitus and,
Right. And we tried to, we ended up kind of in unintentionally and intentionally fusing those things in the music of Red Fang, where we're like, we want it to be something that is actually exciting to listen to
and
for
play.
but also something that's fun to play that doesn't bore us. And so it was trying to find that like balance of the two, because sometimes if you work too hard to write music that doesn't bore you, then it's just too complicated and not fun to listen to at all. And so that's what this beer is.
There's a great sense of fun in your music. It looks like you're having fun playing it. It makes me want to start a band and pick up my guitar more often, honestly. Good. That really does come through.
And that's that is exactly what, like, when we were first starting out, we were like, we've all played in bands that we've watched other bands that sound like us, and it's fucking boring. And we want to play in the bands, we want to play in the type of band or write the type of music that made us want to pick up a guitar in the first place. Or pick up a drum or whatever you...
Pick up a drum, kids.
There are very few bands that can like smile and still look cool doing it. You are one. Municipal Waste is another. That might be it. You might be the only. Oh yeah,
you look cool or not. Just have a good time.
Yeah. But no, I think we're definitely on the same page. Like with the music and the beer, I mean, I think these go hand in hand, because also, again, Kevin, like, I mean, I could drink this endlessly, and what might have been perceived as high gravity at 6.5% in the past, like, I think current guts and current palates, man, are kind of used to drinking between like 6 to 7% plus on average. So I'm definitely gonna have another. For our producer, Matt, the voice of Satan, I don't know if you want to bring in Eric, our returning subscriber. If he has any questions for Kevin from Wayfinder or for Aaron and John from Red Fang. And I just want to hear what he thinks of the beer. Eric, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
It is good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to be a repeat guest member.
We would be incomplete without you, buddy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join.
Absolutely.
I'm also glad you got the Beer Pit box in time. I know it was just mailed out to subscribers, but let us know, what do you think of the beer? Again, power of suggestion. It's one thing to talk about it, but everyone's palate is different. What do you think of the beer? And let us know if you have any questions for Wayfinder or Red Fang.
Love the stovepipe can.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's referred to as when it's that 19.
I think he's on mute.
Whatever.
Oh,
can you hear me?
we can hear you.
We can hear him.
Okay.
We can hear you, Eric.
All right. I was saying I love the stovepipe can. The like 19 point whatever it is, like ounces. Love that. But yeah, I just had a question. I don't know if Kevin can hear me or not, but
Kevin, can you hear Eric? Or Kevin, can you hear any of us for that matter?
Uh-oh.
I can hear everybody but Eric.
I can't hear Kevin.
It looks like Eric's muted on my screen. No!
Oh, no, wait. I could hear him.
You know what?
Oh.
I think it's a little bit
delayed.
It's a little bit of musical chairs. Maybe having everyone at the same time sets one of us off.
Yeah, sorry guys. Now I'm going to direct all my beer questions to you. How did you design it? No, how did?
Yeah. But
why don't we mute ourselves?
Let's see.
Is he talking really bad trash about my beer right now?
Oh, you're back.
I can't hear. Oh wait, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Anybody?
Okay, Eric, can you hear Kevin? Kevin, can you hear Eric?
I can hear Kevin.
I cannot hear Eric.
Ah, shit.
Sorry, man.
Tell you what,
Okay.
We'll translate
I'll
for
pass
you.
it through Adam.
Eric,
Yeah.
fire off your question, and I will pass it along to Kevin. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, I had
Do that.
2 questions. One of them, well, one was a statement. I love the can, love the malt liquor idea. But as a home brewer, how would they scale down and recommend brewing a malt liquor at the homebrew level?
Awesome.
Mine's about 5 gallons, but anywhere between the 5 and 10 gallon range.
Okay. So, Kevin, if you can hear this, first of all, a lot of love for the can, the format, the package, the 19.2 ounce. And he wants to know, Eric, as a home brewer, he's working off of like a 5 gallon system. He wants to know how maybe he could scale down a craft malt liquor to execute on his setup.
Oh, heck yeah. So I think that the most important thing that you do is hold on, because I did homebrewing a lot, so like it's really hard to translate some of these kind of beers because they're like, we have steam systems and we've got all these mixers and all this really cool tools that like you just don't have. So if you really want to do it, I think the most key important things is you need to look at the base malt that you're using. Don't use a European malt, use an American malt, and then just straight corn sugar. And I believe you can find either rice sugar solids, or you can even use like flaked rice or flaked corn at a level of about 15%. I think would work really well.
That's what you guys are going to say.
And then about as you're looking at like 11 BUs total, and use like, if you can get Pacific Sunrise, go for it. But I don't know if you're going to be able to find that anywhere. Kind of a newer hop. I think the most important thing is hit your gravities correctly, and then if you can chill down to fermenter as cold as you can get it, like 40 degrees, pitch yeast, and then it really doesn't matter. By the time the fermentation's done, as long as you can keep like it in a fridge insulated, as long as you can pitch as cold as possible, it's going to ferment and taste clean.
Adam, can you ask him if they, when you ferment it, does he ferment it like a lager where it lasts about a month or so?
Did you ferment it like a lager, Kevin, about a month at colder temperature?
Yeah. So I think it was total fermentation time was 13 to 14 days. And then we chilled it down as cold as you can get it without freezing it, which with these higher gravity beers, you can get pretty darn cold. Like put them in the fridge and set your fridge at -1 Celsius or 30 Fahrenheit, and just let it sit in there for like 3 weeks. We filter our beer. If you don't feel like filtering, you don't have to. If you let it sit there long enough in your fermenter, and just make sure that you try to minimize as much oxygen as possible when you do rack it and carbonate it and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And it should come out pretty darn clean. And then the more important thing is put it in a large vessel. So this is what you're gonna need to do. Invite all your friends over. Walk down to the local Plaid Pantry or 7-Eleven. I'm not sure where you're from, if they have Plaid Pantries like we do here.
I'm in North Carolina.
But you want to buy as many 40s as possible. You can pour them out or you can drink them. That's up to you. But you're going to reuse those screw tops, and you're going to package it in that container, carbonated.
All right.
Awesome.
Normally I keg them, so
that's key.
I think that sounds even better.
And then enjoy it, either two 20s at a time or, a single 40.
So Eric says he normally takes, but this is a welcome excuse and an occasion just to do 40 ounces. So that sounds like a party to me. And Eric, I really appreciate you. You always bring the homebrew perspective into this, man. That's fucking awesome.
I'm excited. Now I'm going to have to put together a cool recipe.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Make all my neighbors do it with 40 hands.
Where in North Carolina are you?
Just south of Raleigh in Holly Springs.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Raleigh. That's my hometown.
Oh, cool.
So cheers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Raleigh from 75 to 90 something, and then I was in Greensboro for a few years, and then I moved to Portland in 2000.
Right before.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Right before it exploded and expanded everywhere.
Yeah.
The whole Raleigh area, it's just like, It just keeps getting
Yeah,
further and
it's
further
nuts.
out.
My folks
Eric-
are still there. I still come back I haven't been back since COVID, but I'll be back at some point. But yeah, that city has grown like crazy. It's nuts.
Are you gonna play some shows back here?
Man, we can't talk about that.
It's coming up, so you have to say something.
No, I mean, our next tour has already been announced, and we are skipping Raleigh. My parents are not pleased.
I was gonna say your parents are gonna be mad.
But yeah, we're not
Well, I'll catch
playing.
you on the
I think
second one,
DC is the closest we'll get to
That's not too
North
bad.
Carolina. I think maybe Atlanta. DC's. I can't remember which is closer.
Yeah, they're about the same. Not too bad.
Yeah. Eric, you also sent me a list last time of breweries around North Carolina and in your area. I really appreciate it, man. And there's so many new ones every time I look. Like there were a lot on that list I did not recognize. So if you know anyone that ever wants to make a beer for the beer pit, just let me know, man. Please.
Absolutely.
So let's do this. I Voice of Satan, if you want to take Eric out and then bring him back in to see if we can just make sure that everyone can still see and hear each other. And Eric, thank you so much, and we will see you again, my friend.
Cheers, Eric.
And then Kevin, Aaron, John, can we still all see and hear each other? All good?
Yep. So good.
So good. So good. All right. I love geeking out and nerding out over malt liquor, craft malt liquor, no less. And we've been kind of hinting at this and flirting with it for the whole conversation because it is a big part of who Red Fang is and who Wayfinder is. But what is the connection for you all between craft beer and heavy music?
Relapse Records.
Relapse Records is a big one.
Yes.
Getting
That's the
drunk
connection.
and just practicing and writing and recording is another big one. But you tell us if there's anything more than that.
I mean, it's, there's been a few places around the world that have been interested in and have made like small, tiny runs of not necessarily a special brew, but at least like a label related, Red Fang label. I think that part of it is that, here's a couple examples. So these are like,
Oh, shit.
pre-existing beers, but that they just put the Red Fang label onto.
Yeah.
This one's from Russia, no less.
Most
I don't know if you guys know that they brew beer in Russia.
I've heard rumors.
This one,
That's from Road.
oh yeah, the Roadburn. I remember that one. But I think it's partly that I don't want to like bum anybody out too much, but we're actually kind of like older guys now, and I think in a
Then
lot
who?
right, we're older than we used to be. And I think in a lot of cases, when people get older, they're like, maybe I'm going to try drinking something that's like a little bit nicer beer than just whatever it is that I've been drinking my whole life.
Yeah.
And so that it kind of makes sense that our crowd is kind of, in a lot of cases, they're dudes who look like us. And so, or ladies who look like us.
Sure.
And, take people's tastes evolve, and sometimes they move more towards craft brewing than uncraft brewing, if that makes any sense. I'm talking out of my booty.
Yeah,
No.
Great.
yeah.
I get
I
it.
also don't know how to answer that question, Aaron.
But, I mean, okay, so best answer and most positive message of all. I mean, older or not, the fact that you're still doing what you're doing is fucking awesome, is the most metal possible fucking example, because again, you can be older, but the fact that you're still rocking is fucking awesome, and that you celebrate craft beer at the same time is even better. So I think that's great, honestly.
What else are we gonna do?
Yeah, seriously. And if
I don't have time to do anything else.
yeah, but if craft beer can go hand in hand with like still playing in a band at an older age and celebrating the two, I mean, I think that's great.
Well,
What about-
craft beer is also an art, I mean, it's like all arts kind of go hand in hand. If you're a kick-ass carpenter and a kick-ass musician or what, I don't know. Now I'm getting off, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
That was almost as good as my answer.
They are different. They are different expressions of the same artistic impulse and
Right,
instinct.
that's what
I
I'm saying.
fucking love
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Even
I
if you're
wanna-
a plumber, Kevin.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought up the
Also-
plumbing thing. Damn. No, you know, I think it's kind of interesting because it's like, you know, with the similar ownership group from Relapse Records, I've met a bunch of people that are, you know, some band member people, and it's just like, yeah, we used to love these huge imperial stouts and bourbon barrel aged stuff, and I just want to have a really great pilsner. And it seems like everybody I meet on that music side of things are just like, you know, that's kind of where everybody's gravitating to right now, which I think
I
is
wonder
really
if
cool.
that's because people in bands drink more because
Volume,
just-
more volume.
right? So
Yeah.
you don't want to
Yeah.
drink 13 stouts a day, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, on tour, there's usually beer, booze
Limitless.
available
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah.
day, and if you're bored and you like to drink, you start drinking. So, and as you get older, you're like, fuck, I can't drink like I used to. I can't drink all that shit all day long and still play. So you gravitate towards the like lighter, you know, yellow beers, like I was referring to earlier. So yeah, like Pilsners and Kolsch and that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
and I think that's another thing. I think that Kevin pointed out something else that's pretty important, which is that craft breweries have started to come around and realize that making craft versions of your beers and, you know, super drinkable beers actually makes a lot of sense. And so that's kind of where I think that's
Yeah.
where people like us start to meet up with craft breweries again, because I was super
Totally.
into it when I was a teenager and then kind of went away from it because it was like, I can't drink 12 of these. I can only drink 2. And I
Sure.
want to drink 12 of whatever I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Not
it's
all the time.
no.
Yeah.
You
Just
know
But
what?
there are like nights, you know, there are days of the week that end with a Y when you do want to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like that's kind of like it came full circle, I guess, is that the craft breweries are now realizing that they can make more delicious versions of the beers that we grew up
Right.
pounding.
Yeah.
if I
Totally.
could tie it back in, it's kind of like you know, like those bigger beers are kind of like the math rock that you did, you know, and they're very interesting and it's very complex and it's complicated and it takes a discerning person to get it. But Red Fang's more fun, you know, like
Yeah.
and it's more fun to listen to, it's more fun to play, it's more fun to go to shows like that. And what the hell's wrong with, you know, I think that's great. You know, that's kind of, and it's not that like, you know, a Pilsner or a Kolsch is easy to brew. It's not at all. Like,
Yeah.
go ask any brewer out there, you know, if the Pilsner is something easy to like hang their hat on. I don't think so.
That's the best answer. I think the central theme here is longevity. Again, it's like, how do I keep drinking beer? How do I keep making beer? How do I keep making music? How do I keep performing? Like, that is not going to be triple IPAs and imperial stouts. And that the craft movement has kind of come full circle back to session beers, beers for the long haul. I think that is most metal. It's a recurring theme of the beer pit. How can like a low alcohol beer, a session beer, represent a big band, a fucking rock and roll band, a good time band like Red Fang is? I think that's exactly what Wayfinder is doing. I think that's exactly what craft breweries are doing that are keeping current. And in so doing, they are forever young. I don't think it even has anything to do with age. So I celebrate it. I celebrate it and I agree.
Nice.
All right. Let's move on. I want to know. Oh, voice of Satan, tell us what's in the chat. Who wants to know what? Oh, shit. So this is a shout out to One Simple Sound, a good friend, Brian Wingett, who actually introduced me to Red Fang with the Prehistoric Dog video. So I'm glad he's in the chat. What song from Arrows goes best with the Red Fang Wayfinder malt liquor?
Should we answer at the same time?
1, 2, 3, go.
All right. I gotta lock mine in. I got like 3 or 4. Like,
Okay.
rotating.
I locked in the first one that I thought of, so I didn't think about it at all.
Well, that's the problem. I've started to think
You're
about
overthinking.
it.
You're doing the math rock version. I'm doing
No.
the
No. All right. On 3.
On 3. Like we'll say it after. We'll go 1, 2, 3, and then say it.
You want me to count you down?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, sure.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Unreal
Coach.
estate. Oh, damn it.
Just because we just played it like
Oh,
a few
right,
hours
right,
ago
right.
for the first time in a while. So
Is Unreal Estate?
I went with Unreal Estate, and I'll tell you why.
Let's hear it.
Because it was the first thing I thought of. But no, it was because it's and I think actually in a similar way to Funeral Coach, but more so with Unreal Estate, that it's essentially just it's one bass riff for the entire song with little modifications throughout the song, and it's also like that song kind of chugs,
Yeah.
which is sort of like the right.
damn it, that's why you get paid the big bucks.
That's right. I guess
Smart. Chugs.
that's why they gave me the glasses.
Yeah.
He gets to wear the glasses all the time.
Yep.
Damn.
Unreal Estate's a damn good answer. And you're right. Like the bass line throughout is consistent in the way like the beer is consistent and you just want more. The drum intro to Unreal Estate is also fucking awesome, John. So I don't know if you have the same answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I have the same answer. Yes. I mean, chugs, dude. That's like nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun
Well,
chugs.
Brian, wing it. One simple sound. If you're still out there, you have your answer. Unreal Estate is best paired with Wayfinder Red Fang Malt Liquor. And Voice of Satan, do we have any other questions queued up in the chat for now? That was from what sounded like Voditor to me, but the question is, can we find the beer at Bevmo or Total Wine? Wayfinder, Kevin, that's maybe like a sales and distribution question, but maybe you can kind of speak to where Wayfinder is distributed and how people can normally get the beer otherwise.
I believe we sent a bunch through Tavor. So if you're in a state that is, you can buy beer through Tavor, which is based out of Seattle. It's like a mail order. They'll send you an email. It's kind of like having a comic box. I don't know if you remember going to the comic book store. You had a box you could subscribe to, like Superman or Spider-Man or whatever. And every new issue would go in your box, and they would save you a copy. It's kind of like Tavor. They'll send you an email or like tell you all the goodies, and then you can be like, I want a bottle of that and a bottle of that. And then once a month they ship them.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. So we went through them. So I think you can get it there. I don't know if they're in every single state. It is distributed in California and in Washington, here on the West Coast, and then all over Portland, Oregon. But no, not Bevmo. We're too small batch. I hate to say it, but we're just not big enough for that kind of stuff.
Don't
Fair
hate
enough.
to say it.
Okay,
That's fine.
I don't hate to say it. I don't.
Just
I don't wanna
neutral
sell
to
my
say
beer
it.
at Bevmo ever, to be honest.
So Wayfinder is distributed throughout Oregon, Washington, and California. That's your total footprint. And you just plugged our competitor, which you call Tavor, which I always thought was Tavor. So here's to Tavor, man. So,
Oh yeah, well I'm sorry I plugged them, but
no, not at all. Not at all. I use them a lot. They can get beers from all over the states in ways that you would never have access to otherwise. So it is a fucking awesome service.
But fuck them because they're your competitor.
I'm sorry, oh geez, they really they asked me to sell.
They're the rival band, Red Fang.
Brewer, man, I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. Voice of Satan, is there anything else or should we move on? Whoa. Well, for the Voice of Satan and for what sounded like Raz 19 to me, there was a question about international shipping. I know in the beer pit, so we ship to about 30 states and plans are in the works for Canada and, of course, international. Tavor, I'm not honestly sure if they ship internationally. Kevin, does Wayfinder have any eyes on international distribution anytime in the near future?
Well, I would have to do it, so not right now.
Okay.
I hate
Yeah.
to say it.
Yeah. So for those of you across the pond, know that you are not forgotten. And in the same way that so much music from the UK influenced so much music in the US. I mean, it's the same for beer. Like the roots of the craft beer movement are all in English styles out of Britain, styles out of the United Kingdom. So know that you are not forgotten, but we have to. It's a lot of work to ship beer. It's a lot of laws and a lot of bureaucracy, honestly, to get it from point A to point B. So the sooner we can expand at the beer pit, the sooner Tavor can expand, the sooner Wayfinder can expand, the better. But Wayfinder is obviously limited by production capacity. That's what makes you a craft brewery. That's part of what makes all the beer so good. And if you're able to scale up on that level, more power to you. But wait and watch. That's all I'll say in terms of beer shipping internationally.
Yeah, I think the best thing you could do is wait till Red Fang is playing here and fly out to Portland.
Also an excellent suggestion. Yeah. Okay. I want to take it to current day if we can. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about just what you're listening to, what albums are playing in the brew house? And at the same time, I'm curious, Aaron and John, what are you drinking at home? So I'm curious what the brewery is listening to. I'm curious what Red Fang is drinking other than their own beer.
Oh,
Do you want to start, Kevin, or do you want us to start? It's probably easier for us to tell you what we're drinking.
yeah. Tell me what you're drinking.
What are you drinking?
Well, over the holidays, I was gifted. I've been drinking a lot of rye whiskey, and so I got a Michter's. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Michter's rye, and then my brother got me. Oh, geez, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's another kind of rye whiskey. So, but then also, I started getting it more into añejo tequilas.
Ooh,
I've moved past the reposado, and now I'm into my añejo age.
nice.
And then beer-wise, I think that right now there's a whole bunch of Red Fang Malt Liquor in the fridge that I've been drinking like once a practice and then also at home. And then I also have some, you may have heard of it, it's called Guinness. It's like a craft brewery out of Ireland. And they make this like, I think it's like chocolate milk or something.
Ooh.
But it's like carbonated chocolate milk.
Man, I love
question-
Guinness. I'll be honest.
Question for you, Aaron, because you mentioned it earlier, or maybe it was you, John, just about beer tasting different here than there. Do you feel like Guinness in Ireland is different than Guinness in the United States?
You know, we've only been to Ireland one time,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that we actually had to. I don't remember.
I definitely had Guinness.
You did.
But I also had a lot of other things.
Ah!
I don't remember.
Yeah, I did notice that the main thing that I noticed in England that the ciders taste a lot better in England than the English ciders taste over here.
Real.
Definitely.
Like a lot better.
Yeah. Interesting.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And as for like añejo tequila, a lot of interesting beers have been aged in those tequila barrels. Like they have a lot of world of potential. But if I am going liquor, I definitely appreciate tequila. So yeah, I share that. John, what are you drinking at home?
Well, I drink a lot of wine, so I mostly drink wine at home. I've been drinking some ciders lately as well. All the beer that I've been drinking is Wayfinder, but yeah, I've been digging some super dry ciders, but I drink a lot of wine.
Yeah.
What kind of wine?
Lots of different kinds of wine.
Bottled
like-
wine.
I like,
Really?
every shade of wine. I think someone makes a good version, a good, I'm not. I drink a lot of white wine and a lot of red wine, but I also drink a lot of pink wine and a lot of orange wine. I
Yeah.
just drink a lot of wine.
Fair to say, I think a lot of the best Pinot Noir in the world comes out of Oregon, and it doesn't.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't have to be overpriced. It doesn't have to cost too much. Like I think Oregon wine is among the most
of it
accessible.
is overpriced. It's crazy.
Really?
It's gotten so popular that like Pinot here, they charge a lot of money for a lot of Pinots, but there's still some really awesome Pinots that you can afford.
Yeah, good,
God
good,
damn
good.
it. I
Yeah.
love money.
Did
What
we
about?
give you enough time to think about what music you're listening to right now, Kevin?
Yeah,
Well, I'm not listening to any music right now, but to be honest, like the restaurant plays like this really interesting mix of, I feel like it's Grizzly Bear every day, all day. And so we don't like, you'd think that, oh, you were going to listen to metal music all the time because we're Wayfinder and we don't always get that choice because there's like kids. So like one of the things that when we were building this place out that a friend of mine had like a direct music line into his bathroom at his bar. There's this place called Slowboat Tavern in Seattle. And all he does is play books on tape, specifically Infinite Jest, in the bathroom 24/7 as kind of like an art movement. When you're going in there and you're going to sit in there and for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, like it's kind of interesting to listen
and
to
have an art movement.
Have an art movement, yeah. So I brought that up to Matt Jacobson and a few people, and I'm like, why don't we just have a Slayer channel in the bathroom at Wayfinder? And so he was like, that's a great idea. So we did it. And sometimes it's Slayer, sometimes it's Burt Bacharach, sometimes it's Einstürzende Neubauten radio. So it's like all Swans all the time. So that's like probably the most interesting music part of Wayfinder is our bathrooms.
Nice.
When we're canning or when there's a bunch of us in the back, we usually get in trouble from our neighbors upstairs if we play the music too loud. But we definitely listen to a lot of relapse bands like Red Fang and fucking Monolord, Windhand, shit like that.
Reaching to the choir.
Yeah. Listen to a lot of Mastodon when we're back here just hanging out. But our new delivery driver is obsessed with King Gizzard and the Electric Wizard, so that's pretty much all I have to listen to now because that's all he plays.
I'm gonna second like metal music in the bathroom. It's interesting. I had Stone in the beer pit early on, and again, the idea is show some kind of the long-standing breweries and long-standing band beers that have all like contributed to this idea and kind of built the inroads for metal beer and heavy metal and craft beer. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions on whether Stone is metal or not. But one thing's for sure, like on all their little satellite brew pubs, they have heavy metal blasting in the bathroom. So something seems to pair well between like metal and bathrooms at breweries. And I'm glad you're doing it at Wayfinder. That's good.
Well, so you get away with it, like
Yeah.
you're not in there for that long, but if you're going to sit down and have like a meal with your family, you're like, probably don't want to
In the
listen
bathroom?
Yeah, well, no, you probably don't want to listen to noise music. Like, I don't know. Some of the crap that
They'd
we
eat
listen to.
faster. You maybe would have quicker turnover of your tables if you played.
Yeah, you better, ticket sizes would go up. Like people would be like, "Come on, get invited to give it some more to go. We got to get out of here."
Nice.
Keep playing Swans.
Kevin, can you tell us what else is brewing? What other beers are coming up at Wayfinder? And then to you, John, and to you, Aaron, you can tell us when your tour kicks off. And it's also just worth asking, since you're constantly writing new music, even though you just released a new album, you can maybe tell us what else you're working on. But Kevin, tell us what's brewing, what's coming out next.
Yeah, well, right now we're doing a lot of our light lager for the summertime, so that's mainly what's in the tanks. But we're gearing up to start making Oktoberfest. We call Freiheit, and a bunch of that. Don't tell anybody, but we're gonna make. I mean, don't tell anybody, but broadcast it across KNOTFEST. I'm thinking about making a pumpkin beer just to see if it'll piss off more people more than the malt liquor. Might be fun.
If you did a malt liquor, you can definitely do a pumpkin beer, and I think you can do it well, man.
Yeah, we'll really mess some people up by making a pumpkin beer. It'll be great.
That is most metal. And I'm going to ask, we've had a lot of breweries in the pit that reference the Wayfinder Relapse Cold IPA. It's almost becoming like the new Anchor Steam. Like, I don't know if you actually like copyrighted it or trademarked it, but there's definitely a nod to Wayfinder for that style. Do you feel like you own the cold IPA category?
Well, yeah, I made it up.
Well, there.
Anybody who makes a cold IPA owes me $15. How's that sound?
That's royalties, man.
Yeah. 304 Southeast 2nd Avenue, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
No, really, we were taking a beer. Don't tell them the address? Okay. That's the address for Wayfinder. No, what I was trying to do is like there was this craze for brewed IPA, and there was another kind of like IPL that kind of flustered and never really worked. So we kind of took elements from both and made this thing called cold IPA, which was kind of a mix, and it kind of fixes both. And the name works better. People, when they're ordering it on a menu, it just makes more sense for people. So
Yeah,
I'm excited that it's taking off. I'm excited that people are making beers like that.
it's brilliant. Not only is it taking off, I think it's an answer to the haze craze. Another recurring theme here, it's just hazy IPAs and pastry stouts are kind of out of control in the craft beer market, and that's a lot of people's introduction to craft beer now. So to come full circle without calling it West Coast IPA, classic IPA, cold IPA really is the answer to what's happening right now, and you definitely created the next big thing, man. And I'm glad people can appreciate clear and bitter IPA again, like under the name of cold. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yeah, hell yeah. And Aaron, John, tell us when your tour kicks off. And are you working on any new music, even in the midst of releasing a new album? What's happening at Red Fang HQ?
When does the tour kick off? I'm trying to look it up.
It's
right
the 14th. Is it the 14th or 15th?
15th and
the 15th of October.
Okay, this fall.
Which some people refer to as the 10th month.
But
don't make me laugh with
before
that. Beer,
we're playing our first show since COVID is August 21st at Psycho Las Vegas.
Yes, or 27th.
Or it's 20 something.
Yeah,
sure.
We're playing at Psycho Las Vegas. We're playing at the Louisville Festival that has a name.
Louder than life.
Louder than life.
You.
That's in September.
Thank you, voice of Satan.
It's what?
I just said thank you to our producer, the voice of Satan. Louder than life. You got it.
Yes, louder than life.
That's in September, and then U.S. tour.
Our tour is October. Yeah, we're doing a full complement of states in the United States. I don't think we're playing any Canadian shows. Not this time around.
Not yet.
And then we're working on stuff for overseas for 2022. Hopefully play some Canadian shows, definitely going over to Europe. And as far as writing, we are trying to just get back to being able to play shows again since we haven't in so long. We're just trying to practice and we're trying to learn our songs from the last record, which we actually finished recording in December of 2019. And so have never played live. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the whole reason I asked this is because obviously venues are reopening, tap rooms are reopening, and it's a return to like the new normal, whatever that is. I am grateful for it and cannot wait to get back to a show. But yeah, it's different for everyone getting kind of back to the game in that way after the year we've all had and after the hiatus we've all been on. So I know you've got a big tour coming up. It sounds like you're basically going everywhere except North Carolina. Is that right, John?
Yeah, every single state we're going to. Actually, we are going to Alaska.
Yeah, we are going to. We're playing in Alaska, but not North Carolina. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
My aunt lives in Alaska, though, so
yeah.
Every once in a while, we have to get up there.
There's also good beer in Alaska, so I know you support beer when you tour as well. So I think it's going to be a good trip. I cannot wait to see Red Fang live, and I cannot wait to get back to Wayfinder. Last time I was there, I think it was just outdoor seating, so I can't wait to experience the brewery in full. Kevin,
nice.
Let's bring Eric back in for a moment if we can. Voice of Satan. We'll see whose audio it cuts out this time, and
there's no telling.
There we go.
There's no telling who's going to crash this time.
Yeah. Eric, do you want to share anything else about what you've been drinking, what you've been listening to? Do you have any more questions for Kevin from Wayfinder or Aaron and John from Red Fang?
Actually, question for Red Fang. Did you guys have any influence on the the art that goes into the cans, or I know you showed some from some other countries, but do you have any influence over those?
Well, the art that's on this can
Yeah.
is most of it. There's 3 cans, so two
Yeah.
of them have art from the album Arrows, which is our
We have the
good
skull.
buddy
Oh, that's
Orion
the Arrows
Landau.
can. Okay. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and
Do you have the tiger? One of the tiger ones?
downstairs. But so there's two
Oh, it's at the
cans
bottom
that
too,
are
right?
Hey,
Oh.
look at
It
that.
shows all 3.
There we
Reference
go.
materials.
Nice.
There we go.
So the tiger and the eyes are both are from artwork from the Arrows album cover, which is Orion Landau, who did all of our album covers except the
Oh,
very
sweet.
first one, which is the skull, which is an artist in Portland named Cheyenne Sawyer, who is also one of the best tattoo artists in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
And
sweet.
he created that skull for us, and that's just kind of been our, like our
It's been your logo
Calling
moving
card
forward.
forever guy. That's our
Your
Black
logo,
Flag bars
yeah.
or whatever.
I think we should
But
we should give a shout to Orion Landau. I don't know if he's a creative director for both Wayfinder and Relapse. He did the poster for a show we threw at St. Vitus Bar in New York City called No Corporate Beer NYC with Trappist. He's been a point of contact for me at the brewery, and I know he just gives the beer and the music on both sides just whole new life with his imagination. So shout out to Orion.
Yeah, he's the
And
shit.
He's great, and he also is really good at añejo tequila. Aaron, if you need a tequila recommendation, he's the one to ask or imbibe with.
He's good at everything. That
Yeah.
guy is amazing. I love him.
Eric, another awesome question. I am curious kind of which cans got distributed where. Are they all available in Portland all at once, or did you save some for one state, one for another, one for another?
Kevin?
Wait, that question was for me, right? Wait.
Well, we don't know.
Well,
I don't think I got this
we
one.
did the Cosmic Tiger one.
I was trying to buy you some
I
time.
believe was just mail order and for the bottle shops here in Portland.
Mhm.
The Arrows edition, which had the eyes on it, that was for,
Nice.
I believe, Seattle and Tavor maybe. And then the Prehistoric Dog, the Weekender edition, I think was everybody else.
It's awesome. I know that. I mean, it's the same thing with like even Trooper beer or any of the other band beers out there. Like people really want to collect them all in the same way they do like different album covers, different colored vinyl. The vinyl releases for Arrows from Relapse were fucking awesome. I know there was like a neon green liquid filled one among others. So, and again, maybe Orion has something to do with all of that. But yeah, it's really cool. You took the approach of different labels for different cans in different markets.
And you did send
Yeah,
the
I think it
label
was fun. Like
in as
it
a
makes
sticker.
it pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got one of those, too.
Yeah, in the package,
Oh,
it
you-
comes with the label sticker.
Cool.
So that's
Cool.
going
Pretty good.
up on the bridge.
For the KNOTFEST Beer Pit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's silver. Yeah, it's totally cool.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell
That's
yeah.
real good.
I can't wait to put that up in my garage.
Way to go,
brewery.
KNOTFEST.
Cool.
You can make your soda water look like a malt liquor when you're walking down the street.
Yeah.
Well, there.
19.2 ounce soda water.
And you know what? Since you brought it up, Red Fang, like Wayfinder, I mean, if you took a craft interpretation of malt liquor, could we ever expect to see anything else that is kind of trending in the macro market now from you with a different spin on it, whether that's hard seltzers or you name it? I mean, is there anything else on your mind, Kevin, that you might try to legitimize at Wayfinder?
Yeah, I think malt liquor was kind of the white horse. It was hard to top that. Nobody's done that before. I don't really know what else we could really do. I'm open to suggestions. I don't know.
Red Fang, do you have any suggestions?
Make Killian's Irish Red taste good.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Oh, no. I'll
I think
try.
you got a red
That's-
one up your sleeve, Kevin.
Kevin, just keep doing what you're doing.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Kevin, do you have any suggestions for how we should write music?
Absolutely not. Although an unplugged version of Red Fang would be, as long as you're drinking wine, you should have like a acoustic set. There you go.
I don't want to give away the ghost, but we actually we've done that. Brian and I did that once in
It was
Oh,
early
really?
on, right? Yeah.
we did
Well,
like a force. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was weird.
Okay, then I got nothing. I guess you could do like an album of Burt Bacharach covers, or
Swan.
I don't know. I heard that the Foo Fighters were doing like a Bee Gees cover album or a disco album. That seems like something you could do.
It doesn't mean you can't do it again. Maybe Red Fang live and unplugged from like Devil's Point PDX or the Horse Breath or something like that.
Oh my god, deep cuts. We could do. We'll do a cover of the cover album of the Foo Fighters cover album.
Cover of a cover.
Yeah. Hell
That
yeah.
would be hilarious.
Well, you
What
heard it
beer
here
could you
first.
brew for? What beer could you brew for a cover of a cover?
Did
Or
you
a
get that,
red,
Kevin?
I got
a red
nothing. No,
wine
sorry.
barreled.
Yeah.
You can age it in tequila
Interpret
barrels.
for me. I can't hear Eric.
Okay, so Eric's saying, what could you brew for a cover of a cover? And maybe you could move it from añejo tequila barrels to wine barrels, and you might have a whole new beer.
Oh, that's true.
I got you both covered.
Holy crap! I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a cream ale.
A cream ale.
Answer for
Right.
everything.
Nice. Before we go, I do just want to take a moment to say thank you, of course, and always, Kevin, John, Aaron. And do you have anything to say to KNOTFEST Beer Pit subscribers out there? I think about half of our base has received the Red Fang Malt Liquor, and there's more on the way. But anything you want to say to the Beer Pit before we go?
Cheers, big ears.
Yeah. Try to drink a 40 of this. It's great.
Yeah.
I think I
I'm
just
on my way
did. I
to
just
40
finished my
ounces,
second
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm
Nice.
empty.
Well, on that note,
2 times.
Voice of Satan, is there anything else lined up in the queue, in the Twitch chat, or do you want to take us out? All right. I'm gonna
Lots
say
of positive comments.
until next time, we will see you in the pit. But to you, Kevin from Wayfinder, to you, Aaron and John from Red Fang, and to you, Eric from North Carolina, thank you for your time. Thank you for your talent. Thank you for supporting craft beer and heavy metal and the KNOTFEST Beer Pit. And let's do it all again.
You bet.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
All right. Cheers, all. We'll
Take it
see you
easy.
again.